Welcome, folks. How you all doing? Let's have a little round of introductions starting right over at that end.
This on. So I'm Mark from Green Home Heating, based in the north, as you can probably tell. Been doing heat pumps for just over a year.
Fantastic.
Hi, I'm Erik Johansson. I'm based in the Southampton area, doing heat pump installation for about a year or so.
Hi, I'm Mark Denman from Custom Renewables, his better half. And we've been doing heat pumps now for around 8 years altogether. Yeah. And then Custom Renewables for about the last 3 years, 2 years. So yeah, pretty advanced in it.
Mark's introduced me already. I'm Liam Barry, Custom Renewables. Been probably fitting heat pumps for about 10 years now. So
Fantastic. Just hold the mic like that when you're talking. That's it, like Madonna style.
oh,
Liam, let's start with you. You kind of started at a larger company when you got into the industry. Do you want to tell us your sort of journey into it and where you started out?
I started fitting heat pumps in New Zealand, and then when I come back, I saw a big gap in the market. So I started for a big company fitting Samsungs, Mitsubishis, big underfloor jobs, big one-off properties, and then I realised there was a big gap where everyone was fitting them, but they weren't fitting them correctly. So then I seeked Heat Geek about Adam right at the very start, and then I worked at Vito Energy for 2 years with Adam, and then went out on my own and started doing it properly for myself.
You're saying that very casually. To take the jump to go and start a business from being an employee, particularly working for Adam, which is a whole other conversation. That takes a bit of guts and also a belief that you can do it. What was it that made you believe you could do that and bring that kind of capability out to your local area that you were moving to?
It wasn't a jump; it was a push.
Okay, so you got fired. No.
Adam pushed me into doing it.
And what did Adam say? Because I like this story a lot. What did he say that was the actual push?
Well, I live in Banbury, and I was driving to Farnham every day to work, which is about 2 hours, 3 hours drive. And then I left and was like, I can't do this anymore, it's too far. And he said, I went back to my old company, and he went, you're too good to be working for a company, you need to do it yourself.
And that's, I guess, the trend, right? Is that once you've got that fundamental knowledge, and you and the other guys are some of the best installers in the country, it gives you that ability to set yourself apart. And then it's like, well, why would I work for someone else? Why would I work for a big company? Let's say, one of the big, even the heat pump installers. Just go and do it yourself. How does it feel to be in that space now?
Well, what I found with working for a company was I was answering to people above me that didn't know what they were talking about. So I was telling them how to technically design and install systems, but they were just sales reps. So I was just working for sales reps all the time. So eventually I just was like, sod it, I'll just go and do it myself. And now I get to choose what I fit, what I'm installing, how I design it. And that's how I'm getting really high efficiencies.
And that, I think, leads quite nicely onto Mark, really, because in terms of being told what to design or how to fit, it doesn't get much bigger than, I think, your background when you were working on the fridge side and your corporate background. Mark, tell us a bit about how you got into that.
Yeah, so I worked for British Gas for 15 years, doing domestic commercial, like most.
Are we allowed to boo?
Yeah, you can. As most people do, looking after home care customers. And then I've moved into the commercial side of that business. Whilst I was there, I was able to do my F-gas, which is probably about 10, 12 years ago now, maybe. And in doing that, I was headhunted by Tesco Maintenance to run their refrigeration department for London and National. So I then spent 3
You've
years.
got a lot of fridges, right?
A lot of fridges in a lot of Tesco's with a lot of angry people when the fridges go down. So in that world, you don't get to say no. You don't get to tell people how it should be. It's just got to be done. So learned a lot about more the corporate side of it, the actual business side of the industry, and how to run a team, how to run a business, how to be profitable. And in doing so, learned the fundamental skills on how to run a business, which is where I got my degree in doing business management and economics. So by doing that, I thought, well, I can design it, I can install it, I know maybe how to run a business. I've not done it. So I took the jump in COVID, had the epiphany that most people did. And just before that, launched JMR Heating, which I ran, well, how long have we run that? For 18 months. And then obviously this man next to me, the genius of what he does, and became very close friends through this industry. So we thought, well, I'm pretty good at business. You're pretty good at installing. We'll just join up. And that's how we became, well, I just bought into him. It made sense. Why make something else when you've got him?
I want to come back to that story. Just tell me about getting Heat Geek Elite and how that happened.
Yeah, so when Adam originally was like eco technicians and that type of stuff, I was following what they were doing. And then he made the original Heat Geek course, which I think was called Trailblazer or something at the time. So we jumped on that as part of the sort of the funded course and whatnot. Undertook that, but in doing so, there was only a small community of people doing it. So you actually got pretty close to Adam, chatting to him a lot. And then through them conversations, and then with the other guys who are essentially the OG elite ones you see on there, he asked us to, right, you need to join in this group so we can push it even further. And that's how we became into that sort of original cluster of idiots that sort of know what they're doing and bounced off each other and just made all of us who thought we could do it know we can do it. And then that sort of made us quite confident to go, well, let's try this on this system. Does it work? No. Right, where do we go wrong? How can we make it better? And that just improved all of us no end.
Adam said to me abstractly when I sort of connected with him that community and peer-to-peer and sharing knowledge amongst ultimately non-competitive businesses, because even if you're local to each other, there's so many customers, was so fundamental to it. I didn't really understand it until I was privileged enough to look at one of the WhatsApp groups in which it's only heating design conversation, obviously. There's no other dodgy jokes and terrible memes shared. But I think that Heat Geek Elite shows the highest level of knowledge. Folks that have not only done the course, but put it into practice over hundreds and hundreds of hours of installs, etc. Erik, tell us about your story, because you're coming into this a little bit fresher, a little bit newer than some of the guys next to you.
Yeah, so I was here pretty much a year ago today, meeting Simon Poskett, basically begging for a job. I'd done the jumped down the rabbit hole of looking at heat pumps, working for a few firms where it just didn't work. Just like sold into the bad news press about heat pumps, just don't work, they're rubbish. And then yeah, I thought I'd do hydronics course, then I heard about the Heat Geek through like Urban Plumbers on YouTube, doing my research, and then went from there. Had a job, it's a weird one, like dog kennels, load of underfloor heating, MLC.
Sorry, what do you mean dog kennels?
It's an actual dog kennels. They just wanted underfloor heating for their dogs, and I was like, well, I'm gonna have to do a good job because my dogs stay here. So yeah, it was a bit of a strange one, and then yeah, it was all piped up wrong. So I used the Heat Geek calculation before I sort of jumped on the platform, and it just worked out. And I changed everything. I said to the customer, like, I'll pay for the install. Like, you buy the gear, I'll just do the labour for nothing. I just want to see if this calculation works. And then he was gutted when he saw the readings were all perfect. I haven't heard from him for 2 years now, so that's how I got started. And then I thought, the maths and the science backs does work out, so why not jump in? So that's why I was here last year begging someone for a job, please.
And update us on that story. So now you've been on the platform, or a little bit less than a year, but more or less a year. You're one of the first few folks on it, kind of fresh to the business. What does your business look like today? What are you doing day to day?
Pretty much just heat pump designs, installations, just like doing a bit more like complex things now, working for a sort of better clientele of customers. I used to literally be like combi basher, so agency work, all sorts. So this has just made me, I literally don't have to look around for any other work. I'm like reliant on Heat. If I lost Heat Geek, I'm like gone now. I'm fully embedded with them now.
It's a symbiotic relationship.
But yeah, it's just really helped me out. Financially I'm so much better off. I haven't got to stress out. Can actually afford to have some time off and like look to the future for better progress for the firm and myself, and bring other engineers into it as well. So
I think a really nice way to move to the next thing is if you look on the sort of spinning show reel through the day, you'll see a customer testimonial. And it's a guy that Erik went out to. It was one of our very first jobs that was done digitally through the platform. Erik's a very humble guy. He is an incredible installer and just needed a bit of the kind of activation energy to meet some of the right customers who would allow him to price, size, and execute on the jobs. I think if we vanished, let's say some magical way, your personal rep in your area would carry through.
Oh, that's nice.
Because the feedback that we've had from jobs that Erik's done are just incredible. The customers are so happy, so satisfied, to the extent where the guy was like, please come and film me. I want to tell the world about how good Erik was and how amazing the experience was. That's the kind of customers that we're attracting. And we all know that it's the quality of the customer that makes a job good or not. Even if you make loads of money, but it's an absolute arse, there's no point.
Yeah.
Mark, tell us a little bit about your backdrop, because obviously you come into it again from a slightly different angle.
Yeah, so we came into heat pumps from a bit of a desperate place, to be honest. The business was failing at the time. We'd been trying to scale on boilers for about a year, spent a fortune on Google adverts, and didn't pay off at all. It left us in a worse financial position than we're actually in when we started. So we scrapped all the Google ads, and that's when, luckily, the BIS funding was in for Heat Geek, because I'm a bit ashamed to say if it wasn't for BIS funding, I've probably done the Heat Geek course. I think before that it was about $2.5 grand, something like that, which, knowing what I know now, I would have spent that money straight away, but at the time, I didn't really know where it was going to lead. And I didn't do the course thinking about heat pumps. I thought it's going to help our gas boiler side. Then as soon as the course started, Adam starts talking about heat pumps. And I initially done training with a manufacturer in here, which will remain nameless, 10 years ago. And on the whole course, I was told heat pumps don't work. It needs to be a brand new insulated house. It needs a buffer tank. Don't bother, don't do them. Gas is going to be around forever. So as soon as Adam started talking and explaining the methodology behind it all, I realised it's just maths. And as long as you do the maths right, install it right, they work perfectly fine. So moving into heat pumps, now instead of spending money trying to get customers coming to try and find customers, we've got people that come to us. They find us because we're the Heat Geek elite. So we've got quite a big area around us where there's other Heat Geeks but no elites. So it's paid off massively. Every heat pump is the equivalent of at least 6 boiler installs as well. So it's a diary filler. We can look at our diary and say we're 2-3 months booked in advance. And as someone that employs people, the security is just massive.
And I was really stressed by that. Again, when I came into the industry, Adam's like, look, people are going to get booked up. I know Liam, Mark, you guys are booked up for months and months and months. But the reality is, actually, customers are waiting. Customers will wait. When they really want to do a heat pump, they'll wait until it's scheduled in. And they're not going anywhere else. It's not a distressed purchase. We get a few of those. But most customers are like, look, when you're ready, I'm ready to go. I want the best. I want a Heat Geek to do it. And so actually, that has been a bit of a saving grace. Now, on top of that, we'll talk about growing a business, maybe hand the mic back down this side, because I think where Mark and Liam have come to is almost, you've seen the progression there of different stages that we see. And I think the session title is about growing your business. Tell us more about this kind of merger and what you guys plan. Like, what does this look like? Not in detail, obviously it's sensitive corporate information, but how's your ambition changed from those early days to now?
Before we joined up, I'd probably speak to Liam more than I spoke to my wife, which was noted by my wife on many occasions, and still is, yeah. So for a good year before we even joined up through the Heat Geek Network community and all the rest of it, we would talk every day about the jobs we were doing. Where are we, what are we doing, where are we going, what problems you got, everything from the financials all the way through to install. So we were talking regularly about our jobs, and we knew the ins and outs of each other's business, like what we were doing, where we're going, and how it's going to work. And then when you actually look at the maps of where we are, we just got a radius up and went, right, I'm 60 miles, you're 60 miles. Well, it looks like a great rack, but it's also crosses over lovely, and there's a bit in the middle where, it's a middle ground where we're both there. And we just thought, well, it's just stupid we're not doing it together.
It's also bigger than us. Like, I had 6 months in front of me at one point of work that I just was like, I can't do this on my own. I can install them, but then there's also all the accounts, all the design, all the kit. I was doing nearly 16 to 18-hour days. Me and Mark were talking on the phone at 10 p.m. being like, how are we going to do this? But if we share the load, Mark's better at the business side and I'm better at the technical side, then we can kind of share the load. It means we've got more time to then I can learn more about system design or other things away from the business, and Mark can do the same.
If you talk about your other part of that question on scale, if you work on your own, and Mark alluded to that there as well, is that you have a ceiling. So even if you're a one-man band and you're on your own, you will earn more money than being employed. 100% you will. But there's a ceiling, there's a cap. You can only do so much. You're one man, you can only go so far. When you bring two people in, you can go another layer further. But in doing so, you increase your turnover. And as long as you know your numbers and you get a decent profit at the bottom, you're going to have a larger pot. That larger pot, you're then going to reinvest. Then you go admin. Well, there's a load of work gone. You're then going to go, right, the other bottleneck could be sales. So, right, let's get someone who can do the heat losses. Let's find someone who can do that work. That's that one gone. And then the money that you have in your business as it grows, that's going to grow with it. And then all you're doing is finding the right people to fill the right spots to push the business further. Most businesses will stop to achieve that 500,000 turnover on their own. You then hit the 1 million, then you stop again. And then to keep going, you then have to keep reinvesting into it. And unless you're that driven on your own to really work them hours, and then you're going to delegate it out. But there's not many single business owners I know that will release the strings to delegate the tasks out that they've been doing by themselves. So that's why we looked at it and go, design, business, we can get someone to do that, we can get someone to do that, let's start moving these bits out. And we've already seen now that we're probably 8-9 months ahead, and people are still asking, because we've now just broadened our area tenfold.
So to give the the alternate perspective, I think what has shocked us and surprised us about the platform is that it's opening the conversation for people to have about where their business goes. Because once you know there's a steady stream of good jobs coming in, you can then decide. You know, these guys are masterminding a new plan where they're merging areas, where they're leveling up their impact and their scale. But also we have lots of people who are solo entrepreneurs, solo business owners, maybe with some staff coming in and out. And they're making good whack as well. Erik, that's kind of where you're at this stage, right?
Yeah, that's basically me. I'm a one-man band. I trained up a few gas engineers, plumbers, mates really. Just brought them into the trade, interested in the heat pumps, didn't know how they worked, and now I just bring them in with me, sort of learning off the back of me. And one of them saying, yeah, as soon as he gets a bit of inheritance through, he's going to be paying straight up for the Heat Geek training. He's like desperate
It's
to get involved.
150 quid a month. What is it?
Yeah, I know. Got to do it. Yeah, but
give him a month free. Wait for someone to die to buy the course.
Yeah, he is tight.
But literally, I want to give him a voucher. That's like the saddest story I've heard all day.
Yeah. Do a donation page. But yeah, I'm one man band, and yeah, it's just meant that seeing the work booked ahead, sort of like Mark was saying, like combis, you can do them in a half a day. You know, you get 1-2 a week. You're like, oh, it's covered the week. But like now, it's a case of I've got 5 booked in. I'm like, Christ, some of these are going to be 3 weeks for 2 people, and it's like you said, job security. So yeah, now I can look to do more business stuff and do, I suppose, sort of what these two are doing now. Just bring some people in. Yeah. Yeah. So he's got the.
If you've got that confidence now that you're booked up ahead, like when you think about that now and you think, well, I'm 6 months ahead. I need to make that 3. How do I make that 3 months ahead? By doubling up that work. And then you've got the confidence now to go, right, sod it, let's go. Let's push it.
Yeah, so I didn't think it would basically go that way, but it's just have to have faith in it. It's working out, so it's good. Now I can hopefully bring in a few more people, get a couple of apprentices in, and then now it's scaling the business up and delegating things out to the right areas in the business to maximise time, really.
When I spoke to Adam, I obviously came with a spreadsheet, and I said, how many installs per month can one installer do? And we talked about it for a little while. We talked about the nature of the jobs. It's sort of a 5-day job. Some of them maybe go into the weekend or not, but you should pretty much be able to do most homes in 5 days, unless there's like crap loads of underfloor or whatever it is. So we put 3.1 installs per installer in the spreadsheet. It's bullshit. The installers are doing so many more installs because they're able to grow their business. So per installer, we're seeing way more jobs done than we thought we would. And it's an amazing discovery for us. It's absolutely fantastic because it means you guys are taking more value from the platform. And that's great. Now we can keep our quality really high. We don't need loads more people on the platform. We only need the absolute cream of the crop, which is why you have to do the training and go through the vetting process to get on. We don't accept any old installer, if that makes sense.
I think also, once you've done the Heat Geek course, you realise you don't need half of the crap that merchants are selling you. So you make the install actually a lot easier to install. As long as you know the system design, the system actually is quite simple. You don't relatively need loads of pumps and loads of buffers and lots of extra kit that they're all selling you. You could just run it off a diverter valve, and which I do on like massive houses. I've got 1,100 square meter house that's run off an SP, open loop, all underfloor. I've got no stats or anything. It's just run off the controller of the heat pump. Easy. I've done it relatively quick. I think that whole install took me like 3 weeks, underfloor and it.
So we're learning together, and that's the awesome thing, is that because our business as Heat Geek is the Heat Geeks, is the community. We're at one. We can't work without that. Mark, you've been doing some stuff in social media and experimenting with that. Tell us a little bit more about that in terms of some of the stuff you've been playing with.
So coming into heat pumps again, when we started trying to advertise it more, you always get the negative people. So every time you put a post on of a heat pump, you get heat pumps are really noisy, they're really inefficient, they don't work. So we started making more videos and more content just to try and educate people about how they do work and what we need to put in place to get them to work properly. And it's came across really well. It's developed sort of a relationship with the customers before we even go out to the house. I phoned someone last week that inquired about a heat pump. They left a callback request. I called them up and they said, "Oh, I'm just watching you on TV now." So the fact that they're actually watching our content and they can see our installs, they can see what the quality is going to be like before we even go out. It's pretty much a pre-sold job by the time we do a survey.
And this is awesome for me because we still get customers on the phone. "I want a heat pump." Yeah, sure, we can help you with that. "When's Adam free?" No, that's not a thing. You don't want Adam on the tools anymore. Maybe doing the system design. Although, I'll tell you, we were doing the new course and we were testing the questions. He got a lot of stuff wrong. He's a bit dusty now on the course. No. Mark, I saw one of your videos showing the customers the room scan app and the apps that we give you as part of the platform. You took a screen recording of it, you composited it into a thing, you showed you doing a house. It was absolutely awesome. What's the impact of the Heat Geek, being able to leverage the Heat Geek brand, the technologies, showing that you're like at the forefront of the industry when you're making your content?
So leveraging the brand, as soon as I'd done the course, I was sold by it because I could see the power, I could see all the videos that Adam was making on YouTube, and when Adam and Si was talking to each other, it's like they're talking a different language, and I couldn't understand it at first until you do the course, and then you finally do learn what they're talking about, and then when you're saying that to the customers, they've got so much confidence in you that you know what you're talking about. And then when you're going into the house with the technology, doing the room scans, and you can show them 3D models, you can adjust the radiator sizes to show different design temperatures and stuff like that. Again, it's all confidence building for the customer to make a pretty sort of job.
I want to leave some time for questions, but I think really quickly, we'll start with you, Mark. What do you wish you'd known when you started on this, or you were just before you started on that journey? Again, Mark was there with us. He said he wouldn't have gone the course if it wasn't for the discount. That was 250 ex-VAT, I think 280 ex-VAT. We're now at 150 ex-VAT for the training. We basically only charge for the training to cover costs, because actually we want everyone who is able to go through this process. If you can get through that training, it shows you have the passion for the industry, for the craft. So it's a much lower barrier to entry. So maybe that will be part of your tips. But what other tips would you give to people, couple of years back in your shoes?
If I could go 10 years back when I did the training with the manufacturer that will remain nameless.
You're pointing over there.
It's
I wonder if
over
we
there.
can extrapolate who.
I'll start pointing over this way just so
Yeah.
I don't get sued or anything.
It wasn't Corgi.
I would have spent the money and done the Heat Geek course when it was 2.5, 3 grand because
We'll raise the prices. Great, amazing.
I see the benefit in it now, and my business could be in a completely different place if I had the knowledge that I've got now.
Eric?
Pretty similar to that. I love that. Yeah, it's even you could do the training and not fit heat pumps, but you could also use it on gas, and it just makes you such a cut above everyone else. And you can just look at quotes that people have done and just like not to undermine it, but just say this has been oversized. You could have saved 300 quid there, 400 quid there, £1,000 there. Brings you back in contention with everyone else. Like, so you can still do a high level job for a better price, I feel. I wish I'd known that. Like again, I would have just paid for the course before the government funded grant. I would have just done it. Had I known what I know today, yeah, it would have been a no-brainer. I'd have spent the £3,000 like that. It's just to get me in the position I am now. I can't be more thankful, really. It's good.
And before we hand over the mic, I want to just do a little prop because Eric, today something happened, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
We were talking about the elites earlier on.
Yeah, I've been made an elite.
Round of applause for Eric.
Cheers.
And that's an example of what can happen when you embrace the platform, you do the training, you do great installs. Eric, very deservedly so, has been promoted up to that top tier elite status, showing that he has the quality in the installs and the experience and capability to do that for his customers. Mark, what are your tips and tricks?
Does Eric know about the branding that he has to have done?
Yeah, we'll do that later on round the back.
Excellent.
If you smell burning flesh, then that's what it is. Another weird comment. Heat Geek style.
The biggest thing for me, if you take Heat Geek as what it is, it's when we start into something, you get into an industry, you start doing it, you become part of it, you become complacent, you just go through it. The biggest thing that I've learned as soon as going down this rabbit hole is you don't stop learning. Heat Geek's like the part of it that really gave you the catalyst just to go. And then there's obviously Kimbo Betty and the others as well who are doing great things. But for me, it's just a constant learning. But when you become part of Heat Geek, you become part of the whole. Strange way of putting it. But you could have the guy working in the village next year, and I do with Shane, cracking heating as well. Ring up, what's going on, what's the problem? I'll help him out. He's not a competitor, he's my friend, his family. So the whole thing with Heat Geek is that you become part of a community where you're constantly learning, and because of that, the bar keeps getting higher on an install. Like we had a bar, then new guys come in, the bar's gone higher. All right, shit, I've got up my game again. So it's a constant leveling up, and that's only going to benefit my children and their children and everything else. So I think there's a bigger thing that the actual industry as a whole, this movement has started. And if I knew then, I would have got more into golf.
Liam.
Become an electrician.
Go whack some solar on the roof.
No, I think it's ask questions and ask a lot of them. If you don't understand something, ask someone else and just try and get that answer. That's what I wish I did right at the start when I was working for sales reps, and I wasn't asking any questions. I was just fitting it because someone told me to. But actually, when you start asking questions, if they can't answer you, they don't know. So find the answers properly, and then there is, with this whole group of people, when you ask a question, someone knows the answer, and that's when you start learning. And then all of a sudden, you go down a rabbit hole of water quality, system design, and then it's never ending. So.
Amazing. I think we've got time for a couple of questions. When is this supposed to finish? Oh, we've got time. Any questions for the folks? This is your chance. Obviously, they're around the stand. You can talk one-to-one. Anyone want to ask any questions on the mic? I'm going to force him to make a question. Sean is an installer from Scotland, where we have not yet launched. Tell us a little bit about what you're taking from this.
So obviously I've did the Heat Geek course myself, and we've just launched our business about 4 weeks ago. How did you find when you joined? How did it grow your business really quick? Was there leads coming in straight away, that kind of thing?
So as soon as we were on the map, really, the leads started coming in. and we're trying to push it as much as possible as well. So social media, show that you're a Heat Geek, and they've got such a following on YouTube that people want a Heat Geek and they won't accept anything else. There's definitely a certain segment of the market that are pretty much pre-sold.
Good question.
What was the most beneficial part of the course for you in terms of business and understanding how heat pump systems actually work?
I'll do that one. That's fine. For me, it was like the hydronic side of it. So, like, take an underfloor manifold. It's got a blender, a mixer. Why do you need that? Like, it's just an inch tap in. You can just put a male and a bit of copper on that. No. So if we know how powerful the pump is inside the boiler, for instance, or heat pump, if we know it's got 55,000 pumping power, and the section of pipe you're trying to work out is resistance of 30,000, it's under 55,000, it's going to work. Therefore, you don't need a pump and a blender. Things like that, it's just like open my eyes up. So when I go to buy some underfloor heating, I'm like, oh my God, it's like 300 quid cheaper than anyone else out there. But like that understanding of that, it's just, you do it on combis, you can do it on heat onlys, heat pumps, electric system, anything really. So that just, and the radiator sizing things correctly to the houses, that's a massive help. Because you can use it on anything. You don't have to just use it on heat pumps.
Once you start to get an understanding of system design, when you go to sell a product or you get a customer that's asking you questions, you look a lot better because you can answer them at a very high standard compared to your competitor who just goes, oh, we just fit what Mitsubishi tell us to. Whereas you can go, I'm going to do this because of that, and this is going to work because of this, and these are the efficiencies that I'm going to prove to you that we can get.
Great question. That spark anyone else having a thought or a question? Is that a hand going now?
But the biggest thing off like that question as well is where you're going to learn something. But as we go back to like with the Heat Geek setup, is you may look at something and go, still don't understand that. Well, then jump on the Facebook group because there's 1,000 other people on there that probably didn't understand either, and they'll give you the answers or point you in the right direction. The weirdest thing on the Facebook groups and when you talk to the other installers is they don't give you the answer. It's really frustrating because I want the fucking answer. But they'll point you in a direction where you go, right, you need to go and look at this, or how did you calculate that, or why have you got to that? So then you've got to go back and do it, and then you come, yeah, found it, got it. So then it's cementing your knowledge even further. And that's the biggest thing, it's that we ain't going to give you the answer, you've got to work for it, but you're going to learn as you do. And then by doing that, we're learning even more because you're testing us. So I can't just give you an answer, because if I get it wrong, I'm going to look and ask. So it's that constant learning cycle. But the biggest thing with all of it in the learning is the contacts you make along the way. Like some of the people I know in the industry now, I wouldn't have known 2 years ago. My business wouldn't be in the position it is now with Liam if we didn't have Heat Geek to communicate with these guys and girls to level up me to make more contacts. That's the weirdest thing about it. It's the route it will take you down. You can't even dream like where it would go. Like you think you're just doing a course, you end. Like it's so much bigger than that. A lot bigger than that.
Yeah, hello there. I was at Everything Electric up in Harrogate the other week, and somebody asked a question, and they'd had a heat pump installed by Heat Geek, and unfortunately, unbeknownst to the installer, it was a one-pipe system, and clearly, as an installer, you can't necessarily suss that out when you walk into somebody's property and to do a bit of a survey. I was also looking on the Heat Geek website, and there's some kind of warranty that you have to pay extra for. Was that about £500? Well, would that £500 cover? Obviously, this was had the install, and the customers are very disgruntled with the fact that he was now having to try and sort his own one-pipe system into a two-pipe system to get it all to work. and he was really disgruntled by this situation. So I don't know what you could tell us about that.
I mean, Aadil will answer the corporate element
Yeah.
of that. But on the other side of that, a one-pipe system would work on a heat pump. You just got to buff it will work. Because if you know the resistance through that whole circuit and the temperatures it needs, it will work. You just have to size that pump accordingly. The heat source, which is the heat pump, is just a heat source. The system is the system. So if you've designed that correctly, it will work. But there has to be other elements put into play on that. So that may need hydraulic separation through a buffer. So the heat pump would feed the buffer. Out the buffer, you'd have your pump to pump through the resistance of that one-pipe circuit. So it can work. It's not the most efficient way of doing it, don't get me wrong. There is better ways. But yeah, it would still work.
If that's the only way you can do it, then the efficiency will take a drop, but it'll still work.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know the specifics of the case. I'd love to connect with you if you know the customer's name or anything like that. We're very, very open on social media, right? If you go on the Heat Geek forums, you'll see me personally commenting, Adam personally commenting. I read every single email that comes into the inbox every morning. There's tens and tens of emails. I have chased down every single customer complaint and found out, okay, what went wrong? What was the issue with the installer? What was the issue? There is always more to the story. Always more to the story. Now, I won't comment on this specific case, but what we do is we make sure that the brand is all we have. So if there are customers out there that have bad installs, bad Heat Geek installs, that's why we have the Heat Geek guarantee. And so when a customer goes through the website, they will see a price and then £500 for the guarantee. And what that does is it means that if that system fails to meet the SCOP or the efficiency that we said in the design, we, as Heat Geek Limited or Heat Geek Installations Limited, will take the cost of fixing that. And that is a performance guarantee that doesn't exist anywhere else in the industry. No one else is promising a level of performance, and that's where that thing comes into it. We've never had to do anything to factor that in yet because the quality of the installs is so high. And we monitor every single install via API, so we know exactly what's going on with the installations. And they are overachieving the SCOP. On the show reel, you'll see a table with the different names in it. That shows you the relative SCOP. So we promised the customer SCOP of 3.5, and we're achieving 4.2, 4.3. So again, don't know about the specific customer, love to connect, and we'll figure out how we fix that. I've not found a bad customer case. I would be fully open and tell you if that was something that we'd found. Okay, any final questions as we're reaching the final? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, just a question about getting through the course. A little bit embarrassingly, I'm probably one of the longest subscribers on it, and I've not got through it. I subscribed at the reduced rate of the Bayes funding. That was literally 3 months, and then it was extended another 6 months, I think. I didn't manage to get through it then, but then I noticed this year, January, subscription opened up, so subscribed. And I've got part way through it, but I mean, I don't know what it is. Are people just, do they take a holiday to do it? Because the phone's always ringing for work. I've got kids and whatever, like everybody else. I mean, there's no excuse or anything, but I don't know. What's the advice? Do you have to do a bit every day? Because also I notice that if I leave it for a couple of weeks and I go back to it, I've almost got to take another step back and do it all again. It's not fresh in my head, you know, so what is it? Do I need to take a holiday to do it, or?
It's a double-edged sword. It's the pain to get the gain, isn't it? So when I done the course originally, we was on a tight schedule to do it. I took a week off, turned the phone off, and then just went through it and got it. And it took me about a month. So I done the first week, and then I done evenings and a bit of the weekend, and just put some time aside and actually said to the family, look, I'm going to do this because I see a value in it long term for us. And it was just a sacrifice I made at the time. But subsequently since then, we've been through it 3 or 4 times a week. Constantly keep going back over it. And I'll pick up a module. Because once you've done it, you can then go, I want to know a bit more about this bit. So I'll go back to the hot water module that Adam, I still think, made up. I'm not sure. And then the buffer module, and then there's a few bits of separation or heat loss, or if I'm trying to work out a U value for a heat loss in a proper car, go back and do that module. You have to do the pain. You've got to just sit there and get on with it. Procrastination is the worst enemy. Because the phone, oh, go and do that. You just got to ignore it and get on with it.
Eric, how do you do it?
So I done it when you done it through the BEIS as well, and I basically saved up a bit, and I was like, right, I'm same as you. I was just like, phone off. I just sat there. I was a bit sad, really. I just sat there for like 3 weeks. I didn't move. I was doing like 11 hours on the computer. My eyes were like blurring up. I had to like go and walk around outside, go normal again. But it is like you said, it is a double-edged sword. If you can put the time in, it will pay off. Like, that's what I would say. You do want it fresh in your mind, because module 2 will relate to module 3, things like that. If you've left it a couple of months, you can still do it. It's just it might make it a bit more difficult, but it is possible. So,
Mark, how'd you do it?
So at the time we were really busy and I was trying to keep the business afloat, so I had no other choice but to get it done. Basically, it was on the BAS funding, so it was to a time scale. So every night I was putting the kids to bed at 7 o'clock and I was working until 10 o'clock to try and get one module done every day. A bit of a weird story, but there was one night I was lying in the bath watching the videos, and on the shower screen I've got loads of mathematical calculations written down, trying to work out the circumference of pipes and stuff like that. And the wife walks in and says, "What on earth is going on here?"
Adam on screen.
Yeah. So that was
Happens
a
to
bit
us
weird,
all.
but we've seen Adam in the shower, so why not watch him in the bath?
What I would say is that since these guys did the course, and probably since you last logged in, if you're an existing graduate, you won't see it yet, but in the next couple of weeks, we're going to migrate everyone to the new platform. The reason we built the new platform is that it breaks the course up. Instead of sort of really long modules where it's basically video and workbook, you now have worked examples, you have more text, you have little mini, like games, but sort of, mini quizzes through the process, just to make it a little bit more consumable. Still the same concepts, the same techniques, same knowledge. So what I'd encourage is, if you're an existing member of the thing, wait, maybe next week after, we're going to migrate everyone over, give it a go. And then, I think one thing none of you mentioned that I think you all did, correct me if I'm wrong, is reach out for help. If you're doing the course on your own, it's terrible. If you're commenting in the forums, you're going to get connection.
I think I'm a person that needs to sit in the classroom and be shown it. And then once I have been shown it, then I can do it.
Now, this is going to sound weird. Go and do Kimbo's course. You've done it. Okay. Then I can't help you. Then you're really screwed. No, I'm joking. Genuinely, there are other providers who are looking at it. Like, this isn't some new invention of maths and physics that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. The folks now at Warmer and Kimbo as part of that, if you are really a classroom person, we would highly endorse that as a good stepping stone, and then it will help you to get through the Heat Geek course if that's a thing. That's the other option that I would say there. Listen, we're over time, unless Sean, you'll be super quick. Because I jumped you, I'll let you go.
It's just to yourself there. I was in the exact same position as you. I'm more a hands-on learning type of guy. And when I had the course, I struggled, and I was doing it myself, and I was doing it at night time. Then I was getting a bit disheartened, but the guys were all saying you need to go in the Facebook groups. And when I was going on them, there was 5-6 different people, and I was saying, and can somebody explain to me how to get to the answer? And there was all the people were coming back and explaining. And then once I was figuring out the maths, working it out, I was then starting to enjoy the course, and then it was getting easier and easier, and that's how I got through it. But it's not easy. It is hard.
Really great feedback. Listen, guys, massive round of applause for the 4 gentlemen here. They are the finest heating engineers in the industry, amongst the finest. Tommy's also one. Do chat to them around the stand. I'm encouraging everyone, don't take it from us. Heat Geek is about the Heat Geeks. Heat Geek is the Heat Geeks. That means when you join this thing, it's about you. It's not about us. And so speak to them, find out their experiences, get into the detail. And more importantly, if you want to see this stuff in action, you want to see the platform, Matt is going to be running a demo in circa 2 minutes, round the corner in the garden. Do join and see that tools in action. Try them out for yourself, see the live demos. Look forward to seeing you for the rest of the day. Have a great Installer Show 2024. Thanks, everyone.